What's up, you guys? It's Steve here, and finally, a fourth federal level stimulus check for low-income individuals in the nation has been released in the Senate. Now, I've got the video footage so you can hear the announcement for yourself directly from the senator, and also stick with me till the end. I'm going to give you all the details on this new bill that has been presented, who's going to be eligible, how much your dependents will get, all the details released on this fourth federal level stimulus check that has just been unveiled, you guys. And this is your stimulus check update and stimulus package update. Now, as I mentioned, this is a fourth federal level check. It's going to be for $600. Now, this is the first one that we have seen from the Senate, and I've let you know here on the channel that it's very likely as we get closer to those midterm elections, we're going to be hearing a whole lot more about checks, as members of Congress that want to stay in power are going to be presenting new bills to try to persuade voters to keep them in power. Now, also, we recently just had a proposal released in the House of Representatives. Take a look. Republican representative pushes for $1,000 stimulus checks for all Americans. So this is coming back just in the past week. We're starting to see things pick up once again with stimulus checks on a federal level for everybody. And you guys, we're hearing that this is going to be needed, and one of the main contributing factors for people bringing this back to the table is, take a look, just coming out, gasoline could top $5 a gallon this summer, causing more pain for consumers. They're saying the war with Russia and Ukraine, it's causing oil and gas prices to increase, which is causing food prices to increase. We've already got record high inflation, hasn't been this high in 40 years. We've got lockdowns in China, supply chain issues, an assortment of different things. And they're saying we need to provide the American people with some form of relief. And now's a great time during midterm elections. So you guys, let's dive right in. As I mentioned, I've got the video footage of what took place in the Senate so that way you can hear it and see it for yourself. As you know, here on the channel, I give you all the details. I link all the articles. I'll put this down in the description so you can read it for yourself. And I share it with you right on the screen so that way you know it's the latest updates. So let's go ahead and dive right in. But also very quickly wanted to mention the second channel, Steve Ram Finance. And if you're interested in learning about growing wealth and personal finance, right now there's a lot of economic turmoil. I pray that this is a blessing to you. I share with you some of the things that I've learned over the years from multimillionaires that has helped transform my life financially, and I share it with you on that channel. I pray that it is a blessing. If you're interested, I'll put a link down below in the comments. Click it, go subscribe, turn on notifications. More content coming there to help out with personal finance. And if you appreciate the updates here on this channel, don't forget to take a quick moment to smash that like button for me. Helps out the channel a ton. Thank you so much. Also, leave your comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this fourth federal level stimulus check proposal just released in the Senate. And also share this out if you think it could help out other people. I know a lot of people have been waiting for some news on federal checks. And if this is your first time here and you want to stay up to date, I'll let you know everything that's unfolding. We're expecting things to pick up here. All you got to do, totally free to stay up to date, is hit the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, and you can officially come join the Ram fam. And if you got any specific questions for me, shoot them to me in the DM on Instagram at SteveRam3. But with that being said, you guys, let's go ahead and dive right in, take a look at the video footage, and then stick around to the end, because then I'm going to give you all the details of this new fourth federal level check.
Madam President, soaring fuel prices are impacting every corner of the globe and hitting the pocketbooks of American families and businesses. Today, a gallon of gas costs $4.52, nearly $1.50 more than a year ago. From food to clothing to rent, growing transportation expenses are pushing already rising prices even higher. Yet while the American people are taking a hit, while the local mom and pop stores pay more for energy and goods, big oil companies are announcing giant profits. They have hit the jackpot. Over the first 3 months of the year, ExxonMobil reported $5.5 billion in profits. Chevron recorded $6.3 billion. And Shell raked in $9.1 billion, its largest quarterly profit ever. In just 3 months, these three companies made nearly $21 billion in profit. Now, robust profits are usually a signal for companies to invest in capital and labor and build a foundation for future growth. But big oil has different priorities. Rather than increasing business investment or production, these companies have almost uniformly pumped profits directly to their executives and wealthy shareholders. In February, even before the Russian invasion of Ukraine sent gas prices skyrocketing. The Financial Times reported that 7 of the largest oil companies, including Exxon, Chevron, BP, and Shell, were expected to return $38 billion to shareholders through buybacks this year, plus another $50 billion in dividends. Big oil hasn't hidden its strategy: hold back production and rake in profits. In a March 2022 survey, the Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas asked oil executives for the primary reason that publicly traded oil companies were restraining production despite high oil prices. The number one answer they gave, reflecting the view of nearly 60% of those surveyed, was that it was, quote, investor pressure to maintain capital discipline. To put it another way, they were saying that they don't want to produce more oil because more production will hasten the end of high oil prices and exorbitant investor profits. Some oil company executives have been even clearer. Just last month, Chevron's chief financial officer confirmed the company's top priority is its dividends, not investing in its business. And BP's CFO made similar comments during his company's first quarter earnings call. So much for BP's advertising campaign that it's investing in green energy. Instead of resuming the production they cut in 2020, oil companies have kept output constrained, turning a 50% increase in prices at the pump over the past year into record-setting profits. And make no mistake, our domestic producers have the capacity to produce more. Indeed, domestic crude oil output is below 2019 levels. That's right. Domestic crude oil output is below 2019 levels, and over 12 million acres of leased federal lands remains untapped. My Republican colleagues are quick to try and weakly blame President Biden and regulation for lagging production. But that's not what the oil executives say. Look back at that Dallas Fed survey I mentioned earlier. Only 6% of the oil executives surveyed said that government regulation was the reason they weren't producing more. 60% said it was higher profits. 6% said it was regulation. Now, I understand private companies are going to pursue higher profits. That's business, that's free enterprise, and that's a competitive market. But when Putin and OPEC have outside influence on the market, can we really call it a competitive market? Look, the major oil companies can't control what Putin or OPEC do, but there is no doubt that Putin's war is taking their profits into the stratosphere. And oil company clears think that this is a great time for more dividends and more buybacks, not more production, lower prices, and giving the American people a break. In fact, just last month, Exxon announced it would triple its stock buybacks this year and next to $30 billion. And $30 billion is an astonishing number. And one of the things about buybacks is that it essentially raises the price of the stock. And if you're an executive whose major compensation is stock options, you're giving yourself a huge raise. And that's part of this too. It's self-aggrandizement. It's something that does not square, I think, with the feelings of the American people and also the needs of the American people. And it's clear that the oil companies aren't interested in helping Americans on their own. So the federal government needs to step in. We need responsible solutions that bring down prices and help families pay for the basics. We must use every tool at our disposal. I fully support the President's pledge to release 1 million barrels of oil per day from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve to help stabilize volatile prices. One can imagine the price at the pump if the President was not doing this. It would be even further in excess of what is, I think, appropriate. I've introduced the Food and Fuel Family Savings Act, which would provide most households with $600 per person specifically to cover higher gas and groceries costs this year. And my bill would be fully paid for, targeted to those families making under $80,000, and would also ease medium and long-term inflation by crafting a fairer tax code. Instead of waiting for inflation to disappear, it would provide immediate, real help to Americans. I've also joined my colleague, Senator Whitehouse, in introducing legislation to return some of those windfall profits that oil companies are handing out as dividends and buybacks back to consumers. These are important short-term efforts that will help Americans struggling with higher costs. But to truly lower costs in the long term, we must make the transition to clean energy and break our reliance on big oil and hostile foreign actors. I'm proud that in Rhode Island, we're leading the way on offshore wind, a good renewable resource that, when deployed, will lower costs for consumers. The bipartisan infrastructure law is also making key investments to advance this transition, including over $60 billion primarily for new major clean energy demonstration and deployment programs. The President has been calling for additional funding to enable this clean energy future. We need a package that includes tax credits and grants that would make clean energy, clean vehicles, and other clean technologies more affordable and competitive. If we do these things, we'll make ourselves less vulnerable to the whims of oil companies and cartels who depend on Americans paying more than they should. We'll make our world cleaner, we'll lower costs, and finally achieve the energy independence that we've wanted all along. One of the many lessons of the last 2 years is that we cannot rely on oil for plentiful, affordable energy. It is clear that allowing our energy needs to be held hostage by leaders like Vladimir Putin and organizations like OPEC is dangerous. But placing our faith in big oil is equally foolhardy, given their preoccupation with profits over people. As we battle inflation, it is the American people, not executives and wealthy shareholders, who should be the focal point of our energy and economic policy. I urge all of my colleagues to join me in supporting policies that will help families now and in the future. And with that, Madam President, the senator from Rhode Island would ask and note that a quorum is not present.
The clerk call the roll.
There you have it, you guys. Senator Jack Reed just letting it rip on the oil companies for the first 5 minutes. Then after that, we heard about the bill, the proposal for fourth federal level checks. This would go out to help with food, with gas. I'm going to give you all the details right now. Link in the description below. It says, with inflation at a 40-year high, Food and Fuel Family Savings Act would give millions of Americans $600 usable only for food and gas. So there are requirements on this. They want it to be focused on gas and food, not just for anything. Also, it says, what does this bill include? Well, the Food and Fuel Family Savings Act would give millions of Americans $600 to be used only for food and gasoline. The amount of the credit would also be reduced for those making above $40,000. Children and dependents would not receive the money directly, but those who claim them as dependents would receive an additional $600 for each dependent. So $600 for individuals and $600 for dependents, similar to the second stimulus check that we saw. Non-citizens would be ineligible for the funds, so you have to be an American citizen to receive this stimulus check. Now, what supporters say? Supporters argue that the legislation provides much-needed relief on two key spending areas as prices surge, shielding the most disadvantaged from much of the economic effects. Hardworking Americans are not at fault for these global prices, Senator Reed said on the Senate floor while introducing the bill. Yet these households, which often put a large share of their income towards basic necessities, are being forced to bear the burden of higher costs. The average American household would receive about $1,500. Using estimates from economists, this payment should cover an additional $183 for the average family that they will spend on monthly food and fuel costs for the rest of 2022, according to Senator Reed. In other words, our legislation would ensure that households can put food on the table and gas in the car this year. And as you heard in his speech, he also said that this will not add to debt and inflation. It's going to be paid for, so they're going to be able to distribute these funds funds out and not increase or exasperate the situation we have with inflation in our economy? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. So there you have it, you guys. As we've been mentioning here on the channel, stimulus checks likely going to be coming back as we get closer to midterm elections, and we're already seeing bills in just the past week, 2 of them, one from the House and now one from the Senate, where that is going to be the main area we need to watch is what's going to be happening with stimulus checks in the Senate, and will the president potentially take any of these bills and maybe just pass them on his own with executive orders and executive actions. We will see, you guys. I will keep you up to date, but this is the latest coming out on stimulus checks, and as more rolls out, I'll be sure to report it here on the channel. And as always, you guys, thank you so much for joining me. If you made it this far and you haven't already, don't forget, take a quick second, smash the like button if you appreciate the updates, keeping you up to speed on everything going on. Leave your comments, share this out. If you want to stay up to date, totally free, I'll let you know everything going on. Come join the Ram fam. All you got to do is take a quick moment, smash that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell. Any specific questions, I'm happy to answer them if I can. Just shoot them to me in the DM on Instagram at SteveRam3, and consider joining my second channel, Steve Ram Finance, to learn about growing wealth and personal finance. But with that being said, you guys, once again, thank you so much for joining me, and I will catch you in the next one. Take care. God bless. This is Steve.